Folks sure are putting a lot of pressure on Paige Bueckers and JuJu Watkins. Don't get me wrong. The fact that there's another wave of stars coming in on this wave of women's basketball is amazing. And Paige Bueckers and JuJu Watkins are up next, and they are both up to it. But, it's natural in sports talk for the comparisons to start. And I've already seen them to Caitlin Clark, where people say, whether it's online or reputable folks saying, Paige is going to be better than Caitlin, or JuJu is going to be better than Caitlin. It's online every single day. Even Charles Barkley was on a podcast recently, and he said JuJu Watkins is probably a better basketball player than Caitlin Clark. That's a high bar to clear. I think sometimes because of Caitlin's popularity and the attendance and the ratings and all the noise around her, people forget that's based on basketball. That happened because of how brilliant a player she is. You don't just break the all-time NCAA scoring record by not trying or not being great. You don't just walk into the WNBA and set all these rookie records, produce more points than any player in the history of the league, play like a first-team all-WNBAer in your rookie season without being great. So it's not just, a sentence to be better than Caitlin Clark. It takes a lot more than that because Clark backed it up on the court. If she hadn't backed it up on the court, none of this hype would be there. Now the hype is there with Paige and JuJu, and it's up to them to back it up on the court. I am sure they will, but that doesn't mean they're going to be Caitlin Clark. If they are even close to that level, the sport's in an even better place than I could have imagined. Here's what Charles Barkley actually had to say about that. He was on the Throwbacks podcast with Matt Leinart and Jerry Ferrara and had this to say.
Right out. JuJu Watkins is she's going to be bigger than Caitlin Clark. And I don't even know if that's possible for what Caitlin Clark has done for women's basketball.
Yeah, Matt, that's what's going to be interesting. Caitlin is a supernova, and JuJu probably is a better player.
Mm-hmm.
So those two women going to be running the WNBA for the next 10, 12, 14, 15, 20 years, basically. And I advise those other women to shine. I mean, Asia's the best player in the world.
Right.
This girl, Nafisa Collier,
she's a beast.
Is a flat-out monster. I tell you what, I'm going with the Lynx to beat the Liberty. I think they're going to shock the world. I really do. Because I worry about the Liberty that they just give all their juice to getting rid of the ghost of the Aces. And I tell you what, this Minnesota team, man.
They're good.
They might be a team of destiny. It's going to be fun to watch because I'm a big WNBA fan. And I just hope those girls, we got Caitlin and we got JuJu. Yep. We got Asia.
Paige Bueckers coming in from UConn.
Oh, my God. I forgot about Paige.
Yeah, I watch her workouts there.
Because if that girl stay healthy, she's in the conversation with JuJu and Caitlin for the next 20 years.
And hopefully they all are in the conversation for the next 20 years together. And that is the next conversation. Is it, who's the best MC, Biggie, Jay-Z, or Nas, right? Is it Caitlin? Is it JuJu? Or is it Paige? That would be great. That would be great for the sport. It would be great for women's basketball. And there's nothing wrong. Let me make it clear. There's nothing wrong with making the comparison. These things have happened throughout the history of sports. It's basically the bedrock of sports talk. Back in the day, Magic and Bird, right? Now Jordan or LeBron. Kobe and LeBron was an argument for a while. Kobe and Duncan during their primes. In other sports, Brady or Manning. Now Brady or Mahomes. I mean, these things happen and they're healthy. And that's what sports talk and sports debate is. So I have no problem with Paige and JuJu being put into the same sentence as Caitlin Clark. All I'm saying is it takes a lot more than a sentence to get there. What happened with Caitlin is a very unique phenomenon, a very organic phenomenon. And it was based in the basketball. I know we get lost in everything else and all the other stuff that's happened over the course of the season and all the stuff about popularity and ratings and attendance and sponsorship deals. And everything that comes along with that. But if she hadn't proven it, she'd be Tim Tebow or Jeremy Lin or something along those lines. Instead, we're talking about her like the Michael Jordan of her sport for the impact that she's had and the fact that it starts the next. All right, who's next? Who's going to be the next Jordan? I mean, that's also natural. And the good thing about both Paige and JuJu is they're proven to an extent, right? Paige is coming off an excellent season where she was super efficient and she can score in a variety of ways. She's really just a terrific all-around player. I don't know if she's as explosive, but she's a terrific all-around player. And JuJu has that power and strength, ability to get to the free throw line. So those things, there's no doubt, Paige is primed to be the #1 pick in the WNBA draft. She's already on a trajectory to be a star. And JuJu just, scored on like any freshman. And she's going to be in college for a minute longer. So she's already on a trajectory to be a star. But they can be stars on their own right without being necessarily the supernova you heard Barkley or whoever say there about Caitlin Clark. And it puts a degree of pressure on them because they are being tasked with that next wave, with that, the baton, the flag, whatever metaphor that they're carrying, and they got to be up to the task. Because, it's one thing to be an all-star. It's one thing to be a great player. It's one thing to be a high draft pick. It's another thing to be mentioned in the same breath of someone who has revolutionized, changed the sport, and is an incredible player. And, Caitlin had a rookie season unlike anyone's ever had at the guard position, especially. And she had a college career unlike anybody's ever had. I know not the championships, but from an individual production standpoint. So we can sit here and say so-and-so is going to be better, but that's a lot easier said than done. And ultimately, this is great for the sport. It's great that there are more stars coming into the sport. But their game's going to have to do the talking. Everybody saying that ain't going to accomplish it for them. And here's the thing, it's not a failure if they're not Caitlin Clark either. That's the other aspect. It's not a failure if they don't reach those heights and they just reach these heights. Regardless, I hope we can get that triangle conversation going. And, Clark can't be, she was the star that helped bring a lot of attention to the league, but for the league to keep going, more and more stars are going to have to come in. So in that sense, it's great that Paige and JuJu already got next.